All right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're joining us from. We're going to give people a few minutes to jump in here from the waiting room and get situated. So while we're waiting, why doesn't everybody put in the chat window where you're from and where you're joining us from today? Like, for example, I am in central Michigan in a small town called Sanford, where it is currently very cold, icy, and snowy.
Oh, you're going to hate me, Chris.
Yeah, I know you're in Florida. How's the temperature where you are, Richard?
Okay, the temperature here is about, it's actually winter, but it's pretty warm for the season now. We have 10 degrees centigrade at the moment. It's sunny outside, so, spring is near, so you see it's going up. Yeah. It's great.
Okay, well, we got a few people that have jumped in now, so let's go ahead and get started. Welcome to this community conversation hosted by your Autodesk community. My name's Chris. Some of you know me, some of you don't, and I'll be your community host today. It is my pleasure to welcome Richard and Jorge, who today will be taking all of your Fusion Electronics questions. So a little bit about this series for those of you joining us for the first time. Community Conversations are virtual meetups featuring expert speakers from across the Autodesk community. These sessions range from deep dives, tips and tricks, live demonstrations on products like AutoCAD, Revit, Dynamo, Fusion, and to roundtables on industry highlights, emerging trends and career stories, just about everything. All experience levels from beginner to expert are welcome. The session today is an open forum where Richard and Jorge will be answering all your questions or discussing pretty much anything related to Fusion Electronics. So real quickly, we always put up our safe harbor statement, which states that if any forward-looking statements are made during this session, please be aware that these are not promises or guarantees and make any and all purchasing decisions based on the product as it exists today. Some housekeeping items before we get started. All lines are muted to get started off with. We ask you if you're comfortable doing so, please put your camera on so it feels like we're actually all in the same place, which hopefully we will be again someday. If you have questions or comments, use the raise hand or put them into the chat, and we will be keeping an eye on that throughout the session. This session is being recorded, and a copy of the recording will be emailed to everyone who registered and will be placed on the community conversation site for this session. If you have additional comments or questions after the session is over, or if we didn't have time to get to them today, you can add those into the comments section for this session. And I'm going to give you the link for that in the chat right now. It will let me do that. Sean, do you have the link for this session that you can paste into chat? And I'll keep going. So I'm going to stop talking now, and I'm going to allow Richard and Jorge to introduce themselves and jump right into answering your questions. So Richard, you want to take it?
Yeah, thank you, Chris. So great to be here. Welcome to our first session about electronics. Yeah, together with Jorge, we want to answer all the questions you have for us. At least let's try to answer them. Just let me introduce myself. So yeah, I'm based here in the south of Germany, near Munich. The early joiners already heard we have nearly a little bit of spring. If I look out of the window, I see the mountains, which are about 60 miles away from here. So it's a very clear day. But that's not what we want to talk about, of course. So I'm working for Autodesk about, I think, 6 years meanwhile. Jorge, I think it's 6 years now, yeah. I came, and Jorge also came with the acquisition of CAD Electrical that came into Autodesk this time ago. And the time before, I was working for CADsoft, founder of Eagle for a long, long time, since 1994, if I remember correctly. So that's nearly about 28 years or something like this. I did a lot of support. I did everything around documentation about customers, contacts, board manufacturers, and meanwhile in Autodesk my job is to make people aware what we do. It's not only Eagle. You all know that's what we talk about today. We have electronics and fusion, which is based on Eagle, of course. Um, and yes, yeah, Francesco, as you know, that's the version 3 package. I think which was released in 1994, I think. Yeah, that's long time. 3.0, right?
Before we
So
went all red in all of our
yeah,
marketing. So this is like,
yeah.
if you were a
Actually,
collector and there was any value behind any of this, Francesco has like the legit collector's item.
Actually, there was no difference in the software, but we had differences in the packaging because we had the yellow ones for a long time, and the US guys, they decided to have it in red, but the software was the same. So yes, yeah, welcome. I would hand over to Jorge, please, to introduce yourself if you want to.
Yep. Hello, everyone. My name is Jorge Garcia. I also came in with the CAD soft acquisition. I haven't been with the company as long as Richard has been. In my case, I've been working with Eagle Fusion Electronics in some capacity for the last 12 years or so. As an employee, I did use it before I worked at CADsoft. So total time is probably around 14 years of experience working with Eagle. And now, as long as Fusion Electronics has existed, been working with it as well. So do have a background in electrical engineering. I do enjoy the PCBs. I do enjoy making circuits, building stuff. So this has been ideal for me. Within Autodesk, my role is similar to Richard's. So it's basically awareness within Autodesk and awareness outside of Autodesk. Gather customer feedback, discuss issues with customers, figure out solutions, figure out ways to get work done. So that's that. We're happy to be here to be able to answer your questions and give you any insight that we can. So
Okay, cool. So we also have one colleague here, that's Gemma. I don't know if you want to introduce yourself, Gemma. If you want to, then you're good. I don't force you, but it would nice to just know who you are and where you're based.
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Gemma. I just joined Autodesk for a few months. So I'm the senior UX designer, and I will be focused on Fusion 316, the electronic side, and mainly focus on the library parts. So yeah, very nice to meet you guys and hear your feedbacks.
excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gemma. So I just want to mention you're based.
Yeah, I'm based
Like-
in Atlanta.
Yeah. So what's the time at the moment at your place?
It's 11. Yeah.
It's 11 p.m.
Yep.
So
AM.
So where's she based? Where are you based? Sorry.
Atlanta, Georgia.
Oh, Atlanta. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
same time zone as I'm
Yeah,
in.
at the same
Okay.
time. Yeah, okay. Okay, cool. Okay.
Excellent.
Cool. So yeah. Now let's kick it off. Who has a question? Who wants to do the first strike?
Bring it on.
Feel free to speak up. Just raise your hand, or if you don't want to speak, write it in the chat, whatever you prefer. Francesco, you wanted to ask something? You can unmute yourself and please go on.
Yes, hi to everyone from Germany. I'm located in North Bavaria, close to Frankfurt.
Nice.
Into the area. Yeah, my question would be: will be there any further development on electrical simulation in Fusion 360?
You want to take it, Richard, or do I?
Francesco, you're talking about the spice simulation or about
Yes, spice simulation.
spice simulation? Well, at the moment you're right. There's no progress, and there's no difference or progress compared to Eagle. That's right. We have plans to improve there because we see there has to be improvement done. At the moment, I don't see a timeline or for the near future. Let's take it this way. We have some more urgent things to do. We want to improve fusion electronics and different places, so to say. We are missing some features compared again to Eagle. I feel it in a way that Eagle is our first competitor we have to beat in the first place, and of course then we need improvement and we already have some improvement compared to Eagle in Fusion Electronics. Think about routing tools and so on. But there's a lot to do, and we have not enough time and not enough resources to do everything at once. So you have to wait, I'm sorry to say. But yes, there are plans. We have a guy dedicated for SPICE simulation in the development team. But as long he is occupied with some more important things, there won't be progress at the moment.
Yeah. So just to add to Richard's statement, what are some of those more important things? And hopefully you guys agree and feel the same way. One of the big things is performance. Compared to Eagle, some of the performance is, especially in startup, switching between documents, is lacking. So that's one of the big things. Basically, this time, even though, if you think about it, Fusion Electronics is today, I think in January turned, I think 2 years old. So we still have a lot of things that we want to improve at the base level. So our focus for now is mostly infrastructure and what Gemma's in charge of, which is going to be the libraries, making sure, performance, infrastructure, everything is set up so that we have a solid foundation to build upon. So libraries and performance continue to be very high priority items. So until those things get to a place where we feel is comfortable and that customers give us feedback that they're okay with these things, and basically, it'll become, once they start talking about something else, then we know that we can move on and start building some other experiences and start going into more features such as SPICE.
Right. Okay. Does this answer your question, Francesco? Yeah. Okay. I
Miles?
see Miles has a question. Yeah, please.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I work for CAD Line. I'm in north of England. We're in the fourth successive storm at the moment. I don't know what the name of the storm is this time. I think it's Francesca actually at the moment. But yeah, my question is, will there be any development with regards to feeding, for example, almost like an overview symbol or information out into AutoCAD Electrical?
Okay. So at this point in time, there isn't any plans to have anything into AutoCAD Electrical. I get sometimes the feeling of the association because electronics, electrical. The problem
I'm thinking,
is,
I'm thinking more of almost like what you can feed into Inventor,
mm-hmm.
where you feed, obviously with Inventor, you just feed in a 3D model with the basic data.
Mm-hmm.
You could effectively do the same thing with AutoCAD Electrical, and competitive packages already do that, such as SolidWorks Electrical.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so are you saying from just to make sure I understand, from Fusion Electronics brings some data into AutoCAD Electrical?
Yeah. So basically, we're not bothered about on the electrical side. You won't be bothered about the internals of the PCB board. Mm-hmm. All you're bothered about is the connectors effectively on the outside of the board, which meets the outside world.
Got it. Okay. So that's more like wiring diagrams and things of that nature.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. But it's got a natural progression between electrical,
right,
electronics, and mechanical.
Okay, I understand now. So at this point in time, and again, going back to Richard's comment, probably something that's going to be a theme. There are no plans we're not working in that direction right now. We still have a lot of base work to get done. The infrastructure. Once that's settled, then we can focus on expanding our reach into things like AutoCAD Electrical. Wiring diagrams is something that pops up a lot.
Right.
It's interesting that within Autodesk, there's only like 2 programs that can do it. Inventor being one, and I think AutoCAD Electrical being the other. So definitely it is something that we would want to leverage at some point, especially now that Fusion and Inventor are coming closer and closer together. But that's going to be a further term goal. That's going to be a little bit further out. But thank you. That's a good idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. And I want to add that we have already discussed this topic. So that's not new to us. And as Jorge said, there are demands from customers as well. I just want to add everything that would be about not just electrical wiring plans, also cable and harnesses and all the stuff. That would be very nice to have. That's something, yeah, that would connect really the electronics in a way to the environment, to the mechanical stuff. So that would be nice to have. But as we said in the beginning, yeah, we have a lot of basics to do still. And also in the last 2 years, we learned some things. Yeah, you know, it's you see, okay, there are some paths that might have looked promising or looked nice when we started them, and then say, okay, this way it doesn't work out, so we have to change maybe your direction how to develop. So there's a lot of groundwork to do. Yes, please. If we would have more people, then it would be, of course, easier, and we would be quicker to release all the stuff. But that's exactly what we want to do. Not just electronics on a PCB. All the stuff around is interesting, and that's also something that brings me to programming of your hardware. That's also something that would be nice to have it in an easy way that connects to your electronics design. So that's something, yeah. But yes, we have it on a list. We are aware of it, but not yet.
Yeah.
It's just not doable.
Right.
So
Right now.
if you're experts in these in these subjects or in these areas, please join Autodesk, join the development team, and do it. Okay. No. Yes.
Any
Thank
other
you.
question? Thank you, Miles. Did that answer the question? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Other questions? Feel free.
Hi, my name is Luis Aguirre. Been working many years on mainly mechatronics, and that's sort of the area that I'm interested with. Ego combined with Fusion. I also been an AutoCAD Electrical, as well as an Inventor user. And so far, I have a way of doing what the previous comment was, but it's very cumbersome because I am bringing everything into Inventor. But it's probably at this point is the best way I can achieve that mechatronics feel and to a point that things are real close to each other, optimize from all perspectives, even simulation. I got to do it for a third-party package. So it's been pretty frustrating working with Autodesk because it's just all over the map with acquisitions, not well integrated. And it crosses my mind many times to jump to a different software package just because of that, right? So started using AutoCAD more than, I would say, 33 years ago. I remember running AutoCAD with 2 floppies. It took one to boot and the other one to actually run it. So a long time user, I would say. However, I see the need of integration, well integration. I like Fusion for a lot of reasons, but there's a lot of concerns with having your database out there. I have several projects that are export control, and I no way I can do them online. So I am using Inventor, but I had the feeling that Autodesk is doing a very good job trying to motivate people to move away from Inventor into Fusion, right? And I don't know, this might backfire for some of us, right?
Yeah.
Even though I like the manufacturing part of Fusion. So all these are real things that I understand because they come through acquisitions. They are hard to integrate, and people that are in Autodesk are all over the map, right? So it's a difficult task, but sometimes if you don't do it, you might end getting unhappy customers. So it's very, very, very important to do it as soon as possible, I think. Anyway, that's my comment, more than a question.
Okay. No, and that's a good comment, Luis. You know, a big part of all of this is integration. That's the part that's innovative. All of these technologies have always existed kind of in their own little worlds. And the trick now is bringing them together. Within Autodesk, there's always this idea of a persona. For a long time, it wasn't clear what the distinction between Fusion and Inventor would be. Now it's as time has gone on, it's become clear. In the case of Fusion, the Fusion is so far the way it's being kind of designed is the idea of being able to bring mechanical design, electronics together for consumer products. That's kind of the main focus for now.
Yeah.
So there is some mechatronics there, but if you're more like an industrial machinery, then there isn't as much overlap. Now, one thing that is going to help you is the fact that one of the initiatives that's going on now is the Fusion to Inventor bridge, being able to take something in Fusion, bringing it over into Inventor. So that's going to couple those two softwares a little bit more closely. So as time goes on and things kind of continue to come together, you'll probably find that electronics wise, you can get your work done in Fusion. You can maybe get an initial enclosure in Fusion, but then if you need to bring it in with other assemblies, you can push that to Inventor. And that'll make things a little bit easier. And then from Inventor, I do believe there's a path to AutoCAD Electrical if you needed to.
Yeah, it is.
So it is roundabout. I know it's not still perfect, but it is moving in that direction of getting things a little bit smoother. So we feel your pain. We know that it's
just to kind of complement that comment, you think, okay, all these products are from Autodesk, so they're going to work pain-free, and that's not.
No, it's not true. There's a lot of acquisition.
Exactly.
I mean, look, if you look at, that's part of the integration work as well. Incorporating technologies, replacing. Autodesk has the DXF standard. For example, in electronics, we haven't incorporated that yet. So we still use our old DXF tools that were written by users or someone else. So as time goes on, those things will congeal, but it just takes a little bit more time. And again, you've been an Autodesk user for a long time, almost as long as I've been alive. So
good.
So you've seen how things have changed over time, and you know that it's generally just a matter of time and how much time it'll take to get to somewhere.
Yeah, the problem is I don't have a lot of time left.
Yeah, so that's something, development, it goes on slowly but steadily. It takes time.
So maybe one day we'll work out the engineer of the question, right? And just have the software do the whole thing.
That's unlikely. That's unlikely. You always need inventiveness, and a design requires an intelligent mind. So
that's true.
There's always going to be. It'll get easier. Don't get me wrong. It'll probably get easier, but I think there will always be a need for an engineer and for a designer.
Yep,
that's true. Yeah.
Thank you, Luis.
Yeah, thank you. Software should help you, and we see it. There are often situations, doesn't matter what program it is, if it's an Autodesk product, whatever. If you come into a if you use software, you should never come into a situation where you sit in front of your computer and think, and what now? What's going on? Software should, and this would be possible to do, it should always have a solution for you and say, okay, you can do this or that. You have just to decide. We make the decisions. This would be, or the suggestions, and you, of course, decide then. But there's a lot of things you could do, and I think software could much, easier to use. That's something we really have to work on, so that you get your work done very. Very quick and without sitting there waiting for what do you want to do and all the error messages you get. Why is it an error message? Why isn't it a suggestion to tell you, hey, you should do it this way or that way? So I think we will see a lot of changes in general in software. At least if it's well designed, then it should be easy for you to work with it. And that's also something we would like to do. I have a colleague, he thinks about such things very often, and he has some really not dreams, but goals he would like to achieve, where we say, okay, we make it easy. You place your design, components on your PCB. Why couldn't there be a kind of mechanism in the background evaluating what you're doing? Why couldn't we show you, okay, that's quite nice what you do, but wouldn't it be better to do it this or that way? And then you can say, okay, yeah, yes, that's a good idea or not. So there could be a lot of more intelligence and sophisticated algorithms in the background running and helping you. But okay, let's go on. Now it's just in general. This is something we'd like to see for electronics, of course.
Yeah. And that kind of goes back to Francesco's comment about SPICE. Having
Yeah.
simulation gives you the ability to give insight. So that's one of the other things we're trying to do. Be able to provide insights. We're still a ways away from it, but simulation is going to be a backbone of it. You're routing, and it'll give you a suggestion. Hey, you wanted impedance matched here, but if you keep routing in this direction, it'll go off. Do you want to, do this? Do you want, and give you alternatives, give you suggestions. And with that feedback, then you can make decisions in your design. So those are things those are pie in the sky goals, as they say, but it's something we work towards, being able to give you insight, because we can kind of do it on the mechanical and the mechanical fusion simulation. If you do like a thermal, or if you do a mold flow simulation, the mold flow simulation will actually look and it'll tell you, oh, you have these many parts that are going to be cold spots. You may want to try this and this. And then that can be useful.
Yeah.
So I think Francesco has another question or another comment.
Yes, you mentioned impedance. Characteristic impedance of traces. What about that? Will there maybe a tool where you can say, I have this layer stack and I want 50 ohms characteristic impedance, and make a very nice bend of the trace, and maybe coplanar traces for differential routing, which you can give the desired impedance, and then all the parameters will be in Fusion 360 without calculating, because I did a lot of work on this impedance matching and characteristic impedance. I did a lot of PCBs and measured it with an impedance
TDR?
The TDR measurement up to 26.5 gigahertz in the frequency domain, and to see what are the difference in the bands, what is with if you put some how it's called, the
meanders,
coating, with coating, without coating, meanders, everything. So, and this is, I give a lot of workshops and lessons at university, and these are always questions which rise up.
Okay. So you're going to see Richard and me are kind of smiling, kind of quietly about this, okay? Enough to say, the plumbing is already kind of there. If you've noticed, we have the ANSYS integration into Fusion that started. So it's a very simple initial integration. Basically, you can export the Fusion design to everything that's ANSYS. So SciWave, HFSS, all of those tools are now available, through that interface. Let's just say that integration is going to get a little bit tighter very soon, and we'll leave it at that. Does that sound good to you, Francesco?
Okay, I mean, that's not the problem. I mean, I use also tools from Keysight, the ADS and these things, but these are very expensive tools. Yeah. And I mean, you have to have a lot of workshops to understand how they work. I mean, I did my PhD on RF designs, so that's not the problem. But I think there are a lot of people out there, they want just to do differential lines for USB and other things. And I think for these people, it would maybe be good to have a simple tool which is integrated in Fusion 360. I don't know if this was where you mentioned it will go.
Yeah. Again, we can't say too much. So again, we smile between our teeth, Richard and I. But
actually, if I throw the vision now, is it would be ideal if you if you're working in electronics and fusion, and you might get some kind of information and recommendation while you're working there, and they say, okay, look, that's not so good. Why don't you move your traces this or that way? So just this would be the ideal situation. So for me, and I totally agree, I purchase or subscribe to a 500 euro or dollar software for electronics design, and I can't afford a $10,000 or $15,000 simulation tool. So there must be a way that you can, without having to pay tons of money to another system, ideally there would be a way to use it. How can I say it? On the fly. It's the wrong way. So there must be maybe a process in the background where we could give you information while you're designing. But that's future. So as Jorge said, we are working on the basics here as well. We also work on the basics at the moment. But yes, there will be options to really have an easy, or the goal is to have an easy to use or a tool that supports you. You don't have to have your expertise in RF design and all the stuff and high frequency and what you all do. I know your equipment you have, so you have to be an expert. I have to study this. I have to work with this equipment for years to understand what's going on. That's not what we want to expect from our users. I need a tool that's easy to use. So even if you do not really understand what it is about, but you get suggestions where we say, okay, that's good, or that's not as good as it could be, or that's nonsense what you're doing. So this way. So
that was good, Richard. That was a good way to.
As I said to who was it, Louis, I think. So yeah, software could do much more for you in the background, and that's what we want to achieve there.
I mean, I appreciate if there are still some questions open, so I can do more consultancy work.
So Francesco, basically, and to those who are interested in that type of functionality, just keep your eyes peeled for, you know, in the near term. You'll see something on that front soon.
Right.
Okay, that would be fine. And maybe, as you have seen, I've changed to another video filter with Expert Elite. So I don't know. Usually, if we are in Expert Elite launch, everything is under NDA. So
yeah. So when you get to that, there's a little bit, you know, in those meetings, there's a little bit more insight. But since this one is more open, we can't go into. We can't go into as much.
Yep.
But just suffice to say, there's stuff in that direction coming relatively soon.
So yeah, if resources or actually development is the issue, and integrating and finding bugs and things like that, have you explored the idea of maybe having more openness to the software, so you can have people develop these different things and then just integrate it, test it, integrate it, instead of trying to do it all yourself? Build a cathedral, they call it, right?
Yeah. So Eagle had the UOP language, and that was kind of how Eagle did the cathedral. You know, a lot of functionality ended up getting developed by users through the UOP language. Fusion has Python integration, which is arguably far more powerful than the UOP language ever could be. The problem right now is that the electronics environment doesn't have any bindings into that Python environment. And it's a totally separate team, the one that's responsible for those bindings. So at the moment, we're kind of trying to see if we can get them to do it, basically. Once the Python bindings become available for electronics, then we have that cathedral. Then anybody could implement features for Fusion electronics. And using that environment, I don't know if anyone on the call has played with the Python environment in Fusion. You can make things look native. You know, when you make a feature through that environment, it looks like it's part of Fusion. You know, if you didn't use Fusion every day, you wouldn't be able to tell that that's something that a user made. It's that tight. So that's something that we're excited about, but it's not something the electronics team itself can implement because it's a responsibility, the jurisdiction of another team within Autodesk. So we're trying to negotiate that and work that out. Once that's available, then yes, then it's open season for any user to develop whatever they may need using Python.
Yeah, that would be great to see.
Mm.
Obviously, because we'll open the programming side too.
Yeah.
I could add here, if you're interested in no, let's put it the other way around. So we have a Fusion 360 Insider program. So that's something, if you're interested and you would like to get more closer to Fusion development, and you maybe want to get a pre-release version 2 or 3 weeks before.
I currently am
then you could join there.
Fusion.
It's a-
Yeah. Hmm?
Okay.
I just will add the link to it for everyone here in the chat. So if you're interested, look into it. So that's something, I think it's quite interesting. We have a lot of people participating there. And yes, maybe that's something you would like to.
And
look in.
what's nice about it is it is an official program within Autodesk. So it has processes set up to gather feedback, to be able to meet with the insiders. So you'll get pre-release, like Richard was saying, 2 to 3 weeks before the next Fusion release comes out. You have access to it and you can give feedback on it.
Mhm.
Obviously 2 to 3 weeks is really set up for, if something is heinously wrong and it slipped through, that's where it really comes in. But even the feedback just features, this feels, doesn't feel right, it should be implemented. That stuff, even if we can't change it for the release, but we can take it into account for a future one. So the feedback is still valuable as an insider.
Okay. Any other questions you would like to ask us?
If you can't do the electronic hand, just open up your mic and yell. We're good with that too.
Yeah.
Well, don't yell, but we don't want people shouting.
Hypothetically speaking.
Hypothetically speaking, yell. Comments?
I feel like maybe Peter wants to say something, but I'm not sure. Yeah, he
Yeah,
does.
looks like he's.
Say something. Let me.
Okay. Can somebody unmute him?
Found it. Sorry.
Got it.
Yeah. I'd like to ask about the whole issue of support.
Mhm.
Sometimes you guys are absolutely fantastic, and sometimes it's dreadful. Not to put too fine a point on it. And it's okay if you've got some guy who's making something in his back bedroom, but we use Fusion Electronics to make products.
Mhm.
So, for example, a couple of weeks ago, I had a problem where all my team libraries just disappeared.
Mhm.
And it's completely stopped me working. I couldn't find a solution to it. So I posted something on the only access I have, which is on your support board, on your forum. And fortunately, and later on in the day, I discovered that I wasn't the only person with the problem and that somebody else pointed out you could force them to reload yourself. But none of that has been dealt with. It's still outstanding. And the last thing it says is, this guy says, any news on this? And it's still the case. Every time I start Fusion, I have to reload my team's libraries. It's not that particular thing that I'm complaining about. What I'm complaining about is when stuff spontaneously breaks that you need to do work on a day-to-day basis. It's extraordinarily frustrating and potentially extremely expensive.
Yeah. So on that front, and we have one of our support team members here on the call. Basically, at this point in time, there are the support team itself is rather small, and they are actually in constant communication with Richard and myself. So in this situation, Richard and myself become kind of second tier. If there's something they can't handle, they bring it up to us. If it comes on the forum, Chris actually does a pretty good job of reviewing. He tries to keep track, and if there's something that either myself or Richard don't respond to, he'll also ping us. But again, we understand, if something happens, you need it fixed yesterday. So and it's a hard situation to be in. In those situations, you can post to the board, but you can also make a ticket ticket is technically the formal process. Do you know how to make a ticket? Okay. So making tickets basically is done. If you go to manage.autodesk.com, that's the page where you see all of your account information, all of your entitlements, etc. At the top right, there's a button that allows you to start a support ticket. If you do that, and you can specify urgency and things like that, that gets filtered through to our support guys. Right now, we have a team of 4 officially, although some others help in if they know the subject, but dedicated to electronics, we have 4. And that'll go to one of those 4. And then they'll get in contact with you. All 4 of them are excellent. So if you do it through the ticket, generally that's a guaranteed response. It may not be immediate, but it's guaranteed. If you go to the forums, you're not guaranteed a response, but it can be immediate. If I see it, I'll tend to respond quickly. And I try to be on the forums most days. So if I do catch it, I will respond quickly to it, but it's not a guarantee. So it's kind of balancing both right now. And we're working on improving that. It's, the bigger a company is, support is hard to scale. So we try to do our best with that, but definitely if that continues to be an issue, Peter, I don't know how we can get, Chris, is it okay if we give him our email and he can reach out to us and we investigate that?
I didn't know anything about the raising a ticket. Otherwise, of course, I'd have done it immediately.
It's okay. There's a lot of different.
Posted the link to the manage.autodesk.com.
I've got it. I'm looking at it.
And another thing that I was going to mention is that in the forums themselves, when you do a post, have you ever used the @tag in a post? If you know the person's screen name, you can use the @tag, and it'll send them a direct notification that someone has mentioned them in a forums post. If you wanted to tag either Richard or Jorge or even myself, and then I could go after them and tell them, hey, look, somebody's got a question, they need help right now. We're more than happy to do that.
Yeah, that's true. So you get a notification and then you can look into it. So you just write and the name, see, and then you get the direct notification. That helps a lot, of course, yeah.
Yeah, now to Peter's specific issue, that may be resolved very shortly. Very, very shortly.
So, yes. Yep.
So, like real shortly. Really, really shortly.
That made him
Can I just say one final thing, though? It would be really good if someone told us that.
I know. That's the whole, like the whole safe harbor statement that you saw at the beginning. Like for us, it'd be the easiest thing in the world to tell you, hey, it's coming. It's coming next week. It's not that it's coming next week, but it's just for the purposes of this conversation.
Not even that it's coming, but at least to recognize that there is a problem and you're working on it.
Yeah. And again, if I see the post, I try to usually say that. If it's something that I know is coming soon, I'll either say it's coming soon, it's being worked on, or something like that. But just because of the legalese and the accounting situation at Autodesk, stuff that's beyond Richard and myself, we have to be extremely vague when we give dates.
That's true.
Unless we are highly confident that something is coming out very, very soon. Very, very soon. Yeah.
But sometimes it can happen that it does not come very soon.
Correct.
You have some last minute changes or some last minute bugs or error reports, and then of course, and that's the reason why you can't say if I would know tomorrow is a new release with the feature, and something happens there, it can happen that you won't get it tomorrow, even if I'm sure now. That's something that's difficult, of course. Okay, yeah. So anything else? I see we have 47 minutes now.
We got 15 minutes though.
Nearly 50 minutes, or about let's say 10 minutes, and then we have to close it.
I'm gonna steal about 5 of those minutes from you with a few closing slides. So just leave me a little bit of time.
Cool. So we got 10. We got like 9 minutes then. So anybody else? If your camera's off and you're signaling to us like Peter was, we can't see you. So feel free.
Yeah, Jorge, you mentioned that the Python part wasn't part of Fusion, of Eagle part, or the Fusion part. Only Fusion, but no Eagle. What is it going to take to be part of Eagle to? How long are you talking about?
It all depends how that gets prioritized, is what it boils down to.
Okay.
Probably not the near term, as much as I would like it to be near term, because I have a lot of stake in that. But probably not in the near term. I would like to see it sooner, because I know that it affords then users to do a lot of things, and it can speed up the available feature set, even if it's something we don't develop. But if a customer did and they share it, now that's something everybody can use. We have like 5 or 6 UOPs that are that, import BMP. That was made by a user. No, that was made by Alfred. That was internally made.
Right.
But everybody uses it. It's available to the community. And Alfred wasn't a developer, so Alfred amplified his influence that way. The import DXF, originally made by a user, then I updated it. Everybody benefits from that. So when you have that type of functionality, it just allows everybody to develop even stuff that we never would, niche applications, things that are specialist, so definitely the value, we see it, but that, the base isn't even there for that right now. So we have to get the base working. And Richard mentioned, you work on something and then you figure out that a path you were taking in the end isn't gonna work. So now you have to pivot, you have to change something. You have to go in a different direction. We're kind of at that place right now with the way Fusion Electronics has been developed. And we hope that once the pivot happens, you should notice a difference in the quality of the electronics, in its performance, and how quickly it gets developed. So that's something very near term as well. And that's probably one of the biggest things happening in the near term, is this pivot that we're gonna do.
Okay, I see one question from Francesco. You have your hand up.
Sorry again. I have a lot of questions. Richard and Jorge, they know that I've written a book on Eagle on the version 9.6.2, and my publisher would have an updated book on Fusion 360 Electrical.
Okay.
So, and as always, will be there. I mean, I know you are working is on progress, and it's nice to have new features and everything. But would be there in this year a good time to have it published? Because I would avoid to, if possible, to bring out a book and 3 weeks later it's not. It's old and not updated.
Okay, so you already have the text for a Fusion 360 electronics book? You have a text already prepared for it, or you're considering?
Yes, I mean it will be more or less the same as the Eagle book, with the same projects, and the idea is to transform it to Fusion 360. How will it work with Fusion 360? And it will go a little bit further, because I did not mention any 3D in the Eagle book, and on Fusion 360 I would go to 3D printing boards, and maybe even for small cases around some PCBs.
Okay.
That's a good question.
But there will be no, as I understood, there will be no SPICE simulation ever, and I will not put any SPICE simulation in the book.
I mean, there's SPICE in Fusion, but it's not going to get any better within this year. I can pretty confidently say it's not within this year. It's probably not going to get any better.
Great.
Now, as far as Fusion 360, the book, and I'll let Richard also give his opinion on it. I would say for the book, if you have text already written, you're probably not going to have to make a lot of changes.
Yep.
But if you do want to wait a little bit, that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah, I also think it would be good. So I know the book you've written, and of course you had to change all the images, and that's only changing images a lot of work. And I'm not sure. I don't at the moment. I don't expect big changes in fusion, but or in fusion electronics. But maybe the time is not right. Maybe for a book at the moment,
Oh,
because
yeah.
if I work on this for the next, I don't know how long would it take to rewrite it? Half a year or something like this, or even more.
4 months, and
3 4 months.
then
Okay,
it depends
yeah, if it
when
takes
I
6
will
months,
start it.
if you're in 6 months, bring out the book, and maybe I think I would wait a little bit.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
that's my. I think that uh, it's not a recommendation. That's my feeling. I'd say.
Yeah.
That's okay, because I have to say something to my publisher, and
Yeah.
if I can
Yeah.
say
No.
it's better to wait, because otherwise we will throw away 2,000 books. It makes no sense.
That
Yeah.
makes no sense. Right. Right.
Yeah. I share in Richard's feeling. I would wait a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay,
Then
thank you very
even
much
if
for this
so,
information.
I know Francesco. We can if we talk one to one, we can be a
Okay,
bit more open. We can discuss this at the moment. No. Let's wait a bit and talk, let's say in 6 months again, and then we see a bit clearer what's going on, and then we can
okay,
decide what to do. Okay.
that's fine for me. Thank you very much.
Okay. So we have 6 minutes left. A final question, a short one? Yes.
Okay, Peter. Let's get
Yeah.
Peter.
You have to unmute again. Yes.
Are there any plans to do something about the terrible mess that is the 3D packages in the libraries?
I told you, that's part of our foundational work. That's one of our goals this year. That has to all be corrected and improved.
Excellent.
And that's part of Gemma's commit also. So yeah, that's all public enemy number one right now, basically.
Yeah.
Good to hear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think then let's close the questions session. I just want to add one sentence before Chris, you do the rest. I think for me it was very interesting to be here today. Jorge, I think you see it the same, and I'm thinking about this, and we should continue this series. And if you're, let's talk about this and think how we continue. It was a first try. It was very interesting to talk to you, to get the questions from you, and let's keep the conversation going.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for being here.
Okay.
And again, we'll be in communication. Chris, take over.
All right, thanks, guys. I'm going to share my screen again. I've got just a few final closing slides to go through to share some more information with all of you. There we go.
Yes.
So again, like Richard and Jorge said, thank you all for coming. Thank you for attending this session. We do appreciate your feedback on this, and we're going to put a link to a survey into the chat window. I don't know if Sean has that ready. You have that ready? Coming. He says. So when he places that, I would appreciate if everyone would just take a few quick moments to fill out the survey and let us know how we're doing, because we really do want to keep these sessions going and improve on them as time goes by, so that they're the best they can be for you. So while he's getting the link ready for you, we also want to invite anyone who has an idea for one of these sessions to become a speaker for Community Conversations. We have a link also for a proposal form to help you get started. And if you have an idea and you want to discuss the idea before you put your proposal in, you can talk to Sean directly about those. His email is sean@autodesk.com, as you see on the slide here. And if you look at the Community Conversations page on our forum site, you can get a lot more information about what these sessions are and kind of what they look like. Maybe look at some of the older ones and see how they were structured. And we'd love to have more speakers, more ideas, more products covered. So you're more than welcome to present if you have an idea for one. So it looks like he's got the link to the proposal form, and excuse me, he's going to be emailing the survey. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, I'll include that with the recording. It'll just be easier that way.
Sounds great. Thanks, Sean. We also invite you to spend a little bit more time with us in the community. We have our community forums, community groups. We have 2 new blogs that we've launched in the last couple of months. Our Community Voices blog is a blog by the community for the community. So these are community members writing their articles and sharing them with you, and then taking your feedback and your comments on those. And we also have our Community Journal blog, which is written by us in the community team, basically sharing news and events and insights with you about the kind of things that we are working on internally. We invite you to join or share our student group hub if you know a student who's interested. Our student group hub is a great place for students to meet one another, share information, learn about programs that are going on. And of course, always check in with our Community Conversations site to see the calendar of upcoming events, RSVP for the ones that you're interested in, comment on the ones that have already taken place, and ask further questions. We want to keep the conversation going long after I close this video. You can also join us on social media. We are on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and we have 2 new Facebook groups dedicated to our industry focus for architecture, engineering, and construction, and also product design and manufacturing. You can ask product questions in those groups, or you can share just general industry insights, articles, feedback, put pictures of what you're working on, whatever you feel like talking about in those 2 groups. And that's it. That's it for this session. I want to thank everybody once again for coming. Thank you to Jorge and Richard for sharing your time with us. And we'll look forward to seeing you all again next time.
Everyone.